Welcome to it, sports fans. A different ball game. 7:30 South African time. It is the 12th of the COVID month of August 2020. Well done for staying alive this long. That's my new thing. If you've made it through COVID 8 and a bit, once and a bit, good job. Good job all around. Hey, sport all the way back. Heartbreaking news. If you like me and you love football, college football, no good. No good. I don't think that's over. The SEC probably do their own thing. Cannot wait for that. Plus ESPN's back in Africa, so I cannot wait. NBA is getting interesting. Of course, we're getting into the playoffs. Yes, let it roll. And then the king of them all, of course, the NFL. And the Premier League, which is the king of all of the kings, is only 6 weeks away. So if you're a sports fan like me and that's all you do, man, great time to be alive in the next sort of three months. Champions League returns tonight. It is awesome. Absolutely awesome. By the way, AFL is really rocking now. Loving that. Absolutely loving that. Collingwood Magpies are a disgrace at the moment. But Steel Sidebottom is back in the mix. So it's awesome to be a sports fan right now. Awesome to be me. And tonight I'm not alone. I am joined by Woude Muller. Woude, what is happening?
Hey, it's nice to be back. It's nice to see you. Yeah, I have to say that it's nice to see you. But anyway, I had a good day. Yeah. It's freezing in Cape Town. What more can I say? Like, my life is just so boring and normal at the moment that I wish I do get very interesting comments in my DMs and things at the moment. I don't know if you want to hear about that, but I'm getting some very interesting. I'm getting some very interesting pickup lines.
Okay, well, it's good. I mean, it's nice to, no matter how superficial the love, at least it's coming your way. I'm sure we all feel a little bit better if somebody is giving us some attention. I know I certainly do.
Yeah, you would think. But not really.
All right. Okay, so you're not really the pickup lines in the DMs type of person, huh?
No, I'm not. But I'm also not the kind of person that you find my number on Google and phone me randomly. I'm also not that kind of person.
All right.
Yes, that happened.
Good. This is good. I mean, it's good that you're letting people know that are doing this. It's like, hey, guys, that's not going to work. That's a no-go. So,
no.
Sorry, guys. There you have it. All girls out there, that is not the way Woude rolls. I'm presuming you'd like a Casablanca-style meet cute in a park somewhere. I don't know if you've seen Casablanca. It's the ultimate love story. So what would you like?
Have you seen Modern Family?
All right.
I don't know. I just want something different, but I just want someone normal. But let's not talk about my love life. I think my sport's way more interesting than my love life. Well,
okay.
Arguably,
but I mean, let's get to sport. Thank goodness we don't do Formula One. Then we put people to sleep very, very quickly. All right, well, Woude, good to have you back. Woude back tonight. Of course, she will give us her number 7, the greatest number 7 to ever play in a Bok jumper. So looking forward to seeing what Woude's got for us there. Who does she think is the greatest number 7 of all time? I'm going to be telling you 2 men. So I was on social media earlier this week. I think it was yesterday or today. Can't remember. And I saw that this guy is 30 years old. And I'll tell you, the biggest waste in wasted careers, really. I think that's where we'll start off in football history for me. And I couldn't believe this guy was 30 years old. And I've got a story actually about this guy before I reveal his name. So when I was playing football in around, must have been 2005. It was my first year. We were on a preseason tour, and we were in Switzerland or Italy. I can't remember, one of the two. And we were playing, and everybody said, hey, there's this one guy, you have to come and see him after when you guys aren't playing. And I thought, okay, there must be somebody our age or whatever. Turns out this guy was like 15, 14, but he was playing with big kids, like big 18, 19-year-olds. And obviously in Europe, big, black, it was like, oh my goodness, if that guy figures it out, the whole world's in trouble. Because he was the size he is now, when he was like 15. He was unbelievable. He was getting fans to come down and watch preseason games. It was preseason tournaments. So if you've ever been to a school where they're playing tournaments, like maybe 30 or 40 games going on in and around a complex. Absolutely incredible, this guy. But anyway, let me get to the two guys that I think are the two biggest wasted careers, right, in footballing history, certainly in modern day history. The gentleman on the left, Mario Baletelli, is the person I was telling you about. You'd never seen anything like him. And I mean, I was playing with some serious people then. There's people that have gone on to the Premier League. I remember a guy called Tom Huddleston, who went on to have success at Tottenham, saying, oh my goodness, that's a different story. And Huddleston himself was a big boy, 6'3", and I mean, Andre Pirlo touch, unlucky with injuries. But Balotelli, different. We've never seen anything like him. Or not at that age, or I hadn't anyway. I mean, I don't know every single footballer in the world. But then the other guy, the ultimate. I think, everybody sees Neymar now. I remember when Brazilian football was available to us either on ESPN, but I remember watching it in South Africa. And I remember seeing Robinho before I'd heard the reports. So it wasn't like, okay, I've heard the reports, and then that's kind of primed me to think, oh, this guy's very, very talented. He's the most talented man. Let me watch him with that biased eye. I remember watching Robinho and thinking to myself, oh my goodness, the world's got a problem. Great longevity, and he was the guy. These are the two men with the most wasted careers ever. In terms of talent to where they went, oh, what a waste. I mean, let's start off with Balotelli. Let's have a look at his career. Just so that it's not just me saying it. Let's have a look at the first. I mean, look at this career. And you know what's sad? Is he really hasn't played enough games. He's played just over 300 games. That's just not going to work for this type of talent, because he was what they call a wunderkind, right? So around 18, he was playing Serie C. Inter signed him. 19, he's in the starting lineup. He's part of that Mourinho team that went unbeaten. And if you haven't seen Jose Mourinho's story about Balotelli, well, go have a look. It's absolutely hilarious. That's the treble season, by the way. But you look at his numbers at Inter Milan. Diego Milito shouldn't be beating out Mario Balotelli. Now, Milito, great work rate, good at holding up the ball, but there's nothing Balotelli didn't have. And much like Haaland, who's the new guy, is he had his man body at 15. Let me just tell you, because I saw him at 15, and his physique hasn't changed. I don't know what went wrong. But then he went to City, 80 appearances, 30 goals. That didn't work. I mean, we saw the bust-ups he had with a guy who's like a father figure to him, really. Right? In Roberto Mancini, who's the guy who convinced Inter Milan to part with millions and millions of euros to get him, Mancini is his football father. And that was, he couldn't make it work. And Mancini gave him 2 full seasons to make it work. Disaster. Milan, that's just not going to work. You go to AC Milan, especially at that time, there were expectations. That was never going to work. 77 appearances, 33 goals. The biggest disaster ever was that his last season at Milan, not too bad, it'll work. Enough to entice Liverpool to ask him to come across. It is the biggest disaster in history. Because really in that team, right, that Man City team, he has a crucial kind of contribution, the famous Sergio Aguero goal, and Martin Tyler nearly blowing his voice box. Absolutely insane. But at Liverpool, we got to see all of the problems. You see, the thing about Serie A, La Liga, yes, they're massive. They got 2 massive teams, but they're not really on TV. We don't see the whole spectacle around it. Liverpool is on TV all the time, Sky Sports all the time. And then we started to see, oh no, Mario's late all the time. Because now he doesn't have Mancini to protect him. He doesn't have, oh, I'm Italian, I'm at home, they'll protect me, because he plays well. He played well for Italy. At Liverpool is where we saw that we can't be serious about this guy. And not just me, the world of football. Because look where his career went after that. Nice, Marseille, and it ended up at Brescia. There is no way, I'm telling you, there is no way. Right? And I've heard people saying Ravel Morrison. Listen, I saw Ravel Morrison live, quality. I've never seen anything like this live. I've never. At 15, he was bullying grown men. and great touch, by the way. And remember, set piece specialist. And we know Baletelli's penalty taking ability. So after Liverpool, Nice, Marseille, Brescia, and he's only 30 now. Doesn't it feel like Balotelli's 50 with the amount that's happened? He's letting off fireworks in the bathroom. That's the rumor. I mean, this has to be the saddest case in the modern day that I can think of. But it's nowhere near being the worst case. I mean, those Serie A championships, by the way, he's playing. That 2009-10, the treble season, probably he did the most. Of course, you can see Champions League there as well. I haven't really included the cups, not into that. The Premier League season they win, of course, he's big in that. Big in that. Great assist. Sergio Aguero does the rest. Kun Aguero. But this is where you see what I'm talking about. In 2010, he won the Golden Boy 20. So, by the way, this is like 5 years after I'd seen him and we'd seen him. The world had seen him, really. We saw him, was it in Italy or Switzerland? I can't remember, at this preseason tournament. Anyway, we were like, oh my God. Golden Boy 2010. What that is, that's the Ballon d'Or for youngsters. That's the Ballon d'Or. That's at 20. So that's at 20. That's that treble season after Mourinho had done what he'd done. UEFA team of the tournament 2 years later. He was unbelievable up front in that tournament. And they were runners up, by the way. Or Italy. But his career should have been, he should have been Cristiano Ronaldo, Arjen Robben. He should have been that level. Leo Messi, that's asking a bit much. But that Ronaldo, Arjen Robben, Bastian Schweinsteiger, you know, there's a second echelon where guys have maximized their potential. I'm not saying, and nobody's Leo Messi, but you could be Cristiano Ronaldo. The great thing about Cristiano Ronaldo is that he's maximized his talent. It's the opposite. Maybe 10 times the talent, 1% of the work rate. Absolutely sad. But the saddest case I've ever seen, and I still to this day maintain, it's the saddest waste of talent in sporting history. In sporting history is Robinho. Why do I say this? Is because he was at Real Madrid when the term Galacticos was coined. He was so good at 20 years old, 19, 20 in season, that they had to move. They had Zinedine Zidane playing outside left at a stage. Kind of, I mean, you could put Zidane anyway, who was so intelligent. They had to move Zidane into your classic 10 just so this 19-year-old at prime Real Madrid. Prime Real Madrid, not this Real Madrid of today that you see with Zidane. I don't know what they're up to now. This is, I mean, we're talking Carlos, right? Salgado. Listen to these names. Oh, it's just Makelele. This is prime Real Madrid, right? And this kid says at 19, I'm a starter. And not only am I the starter, I believe in that season he was the best player at Real Madrid. This is with prime Raul. This is with prime Luis Figo, prime Salgado, prime Roberto Carlos, prime Hierro, or I guess he was more the end, coming towards the end. But this guy at 19 had it all. He had it all. And I saw him at Santos. By the way, look at those appearances. And Brazilian football is rough. That's no joke. 109 goals in his entire career and 245 appearances. I mean, the rest is just too sad for me to go through. The rest is just too sad for me to go through. By the way, 100 appearances for Brazil. You know, there's often, if you are a watcher of football in Europe, you don't understand. South American culture is very different. They don't view European leagues like we view them. They care about the national team. And the Selecao, one thing about them is they don't pick you if you aren't the best. And Robinho got 100 Brazilian caps. This lets you know what a waste of talent this was. If I said to kids today, who's Robinho? They have no idea. If I said Kaká, everybody knows who that is. And there's never been a talent. There's never, not in this generation, a talent as prodigious as Robinho. Think of those Real Madrid days. If you're old like me, I mean, you saw that happen. You went to Man City. It was never the same again. But once again, here's what happened. Wanted money from Real Madrid. Real Madrid said, forget that. You're 19. You need to learn the game. I'm off to Man City. Got the money. And I've said it before. Money doesn't change people. It makes you more of who you are. Robinho, not the guy. 100 Brazilian caps. That is the hardest cap in probably the hardest cap in world sport to earn is a Brazilian cap. You got about 70 million people, right? In a country of about 220 million, you have 70 million people that are male and play football and are of age. It is the world sport in the country to play football. Robinho got 100 of those caps. And they are ruthless, by the way, there. Robinho, the biggest waste of talent I have ever seen. And I just thought I'd look at that, because when I saw Baletelli's 30, I thought, my God, what am I doing with my time? I've just turned 34. I remember watching this guy. Time is ticking. And I had to mention it because I saw this guy he must have been, 14? So he's maybe 16, but he was younger. He was still in school, and it was a different story. Baletelli, wasted career. But Robinho, travesty. Absolute travesty. Love to know what people think. Who's the biggest waste of talent you have ever seen? And I don't mean wonder kids, because every year wonder kids come out. Robinho was bona fide. He was already, you could see, that's the player. Balotelli was bona fide. He wasn't a wonder kid. He was the real thing. He delivered it into Milan, won the Golden Boy Award. So he was the real thing. And then it went, so horribly wrong. Anyway, my thoughts. I'd love to hear. Who's the biggest waste of talent you've ever seen? Speaking of talent, coming up next, the greatest number 7 to ever represent the Springboks. Woude will divulge that in the World Cup teams we've had coming up next in the Skip Pass.
Yes, so we're almost there, almost picking my entire team. And today we picked the number 7. So in South Africa, the number 7 is the blind side flank. If you are from New Zealand, Australia, or England, or kind of anywhere else except in France, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's the number 6. So the blind side flank. So we've had 3 interesting blind side flanks. We had Ruben Krier in 1995, Johan Smith in 2007, and Pieter-Steph du Toit in 2019. Now, Ruben Krier, I guess, in that era, in 95, he was probably considered as one of the great flanks, like I said, in that time. But he retired quite young. He already retired from rugby in 2000, and he also sadly died of brain cancer at the age of 39 in 2010. So, he scored a crucial try against France, and he probably should have scored a try against New Zealand in the final. But I just think he can't really be compared to the rest of the other two, Johan Smith and Pieter-Steph du Toit. So I think both Smith and du Toit stood out in the number 7 jersey in the respective World Cups. I think Smith in 2007 was probably one of the world's best blindside flankers in that time. He carried strongly. He hardly missed any tackles. He was a massive line-out option at that time. And du Toit was also quite a strong carrier. And I think the fact that he played at that very high tempo for 80 minutes probably also made people see who he really is and the kind of player that he is, and saw him on the field. For me, though, I think if you look at the role of a blindside flanker, you need to make the tackles over and over and over again. You need to make sure that the other team or the opponents can't get down your channel. So for me, Johan, he was a great carrier. He was massive on the tackles. And he was probably one of the most consistent forwards in the Springbok jersey that's ever played. Especially for Springboks, but all round. And I think also you can probably call him an all conditions player. You could play in the Northern Hemisphere in the more wet weather. You could play in the dry weather in Bloemfontein or up in Pretoria. And I also think his line-out skills are quite superb. So for me, he was probably the perfect blindside flank. Exactly what you want from your blindside flank. And if I have to compare him to Pieter-Steph du Toit, I think he ran better lines with hand and ball. He was a better line-out jumper, and defensively, he was just a ferocious tackler. And I guess people would argue with me that I picked Johan. Yes, I picked Johan over Pieter-Steph du Toit. Maybe because he's finished his career, and Pieter-Steph still needs to prove what kind of player he can be, and if he can play consistently at that level. But I think for me, Pieter-Steph du Toit was exactly what Rassie wanted from his flank. But he's definitely not a classic blindside flank. He doesn't fit the mold. So I guess you would call him a unique blindside flank in South Africa. Yeah, so for me, I just think Jean was just a silent assassin. He was doing the hard grafts. He was the enforcer amongst the loose trio at that point. And I don't think Pieter-Steph du Toit is necessarily maybe known as the dominant tackler. I think he flings himself around the pitch quite a lot, and it looks like he makes a lot of tackles because of that. But I don't think it's necessarily always positive tackles, if that makes sense. So I'm picking Jean Smith. People will argue with me and say that Pieter-Steph du Toit won Player of the Year, all sorts of things. But yeah, I don't know what you think, Mbolelo. But for me, I can't pick Pieter-Steph over Jean Smith.
No, I'm very clear. I've always said John Smith's the greatest Springbok to ever play. And not just flank, ever rugby player to ever play in a Bok jumper. So one thing people must keep in mind is not only was he a good line-out jumper, Victor Matfield was the number one out cup. If you have a look at who's number two, Juan Smith. The great handoff you will ever see in the history of rugby, by the way. And also, most important, I always say this, your captain's the most important player in any serious team. He was a captain. Wherever he went overseas, Cheetahs, and he was part of the leadership crew. Of course, we had John Smith. That's an exception. If it wasn't for Skalkberger, he's probably World Player of the Year. So for me, not even, no, stop it. I'll never change. He's the best to ever play.
But can you, because I've been trying to talk to quite a few people today, because I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I'm not seeing what I'm supposed to see in Pieter-Steph du Toit. Now, for me, if I think of a blindside flank, I think of Jean Smith, or I think of Jerome Kano, or I think of Richard Hill. I think of that aggressive player who makes those massive tackles and those ferocious tackles, and this big guy that runs with such a strong ball carrier. And I just can't see Pieter-Steph du Toit ever doing that. Yes, I am going to say that I think he has become better than what he was. Obviously, he started his career at lock, and then he played that terrible game and had a terrible start to playing at flank in 2015 against Japan, and he was terrible. And then for some other reason, people just gave him another chance at flank, and that's kind of now where he is. Is it because there's no space for him at lock? Is it because we don't have another option for a flank? Is it because why? I don't understand. Maybe someone out there. System.
Yeah.
Say again?
I think he's perfect for a Rassie system. He's not nobody in their right mind is comparing him, I think, as an individual. If you take them as individuals, because everything he does, Juan Smith did better. As a tackler, worked great. I mean,
no, but this is what I'm saying is that people that I spoke to today, they keep saying to me that, no, Pieter-Steph du Toit is the best. And I don't know if he's still the current player and that's why he's more in our minds, and maybe we forgot what Jean Smith did back in the day. But then do you think Jean Smith will fit into the mold of what we're expecting of our blindside flankers today? Because I also think all over the world, the role of a blindside flanker is changing, and the role of flankers really in general. I think if you look at what England's doing, they actually have two fetchers with a big 8. New Zealand has also got two very dynamic flanks, and again, a bigger 8. Actually, the whole loose trio is just so dynamic at the moment. So do you think we're losing that classic or the role of a classic blindside flank in the rugby world, in the new way of playing?
Definitely. And I was the part of the beginning is because Juan Smith could play 8 as well. That's something he did for the Cheetahs. So for me, is definitely he's one guy. For me, like I tell you, when Skalkberg is my favorite rugby player of all time, right? He couldn't play in every era, in every system. Juan Smith, intelligent guy. Anyone will tell you he could play 7, 8, and captain. I mean, he's the greatest player to ever play in a Bok jumper for me, and one of the best. Get some serious locks.
But
no easy joke.
But do you think that Rassie would have picked, if Jean played now still in the way that he played, do you think Rassie would have picked him over Pieter-Steph du Toit in the 7 jersey?
Yes, because he gives you the line-out option.
But
so the reason
gives you that line-out option, but...
So the reason you don't see Pieter-Steph du Toit too often, he's too heavy. See, that's the difference. Is I've spoken to a few guys, is why doesn't Pieter-Steph du Toit get lifted more? Is he's too heavy. And if people don't understand, particularly, so where Juan's real value, by the way, isn't on attack, forget the fact that he was the second best lineout jumper in 2007. It's without the ball.
Yeah.
And on defense and lineouts, it's how quickly can you get the guy up? Pieter-Steph du Toit, too heavy. That's what I've heard from inside the camp. Yeah,
so I actually watched a clip today that I came across when I was trying to just look up some stats, which I'll show you now. And at every single breakdown, there were about 6 breakdowns. This was in our first game against New Zealand in the World Cup, in our opening game in the World Cup last year. In every single breakdown in those, Pieter-Steph du Toit wasn't even there. He was standing out on the wing. So now people want to tell me that he's brilliant at the breakdowns and he's the first person there. He wasn't even involved in it. So I don't know if it is because of his blonde hair and we want to see him and we want to look at him. I don't understand. The only time when he was at the breakdown was when he picked up the loose ball and he scored the try. Now everyone thinks that he was there the whole time. So actually go and watch these clips and go. So I do not understand why he was voted World Player of the Year last year. And even if you look at the other nominees, and one of the other nominees was also a blindside flank, and that was Sam Curry. So he played blindside flank for England in the World Cup last year. And if you compare their stats to each other, so people are talking about how great Pieter-Steph du Toit's stats were. Look at those stats. He only made 28 runs in the entire World Cup, 52 meters made. He made 61 tackles. What did I say would you want from your blindside flank? You want him to make the tackles. And his tackling percentage was 85%. 5 defenders beaten, 3 clean breaks. Now, he wasn't even in the top 5 for most tackles made by anyone in the World Cup. I think he was probably 9th. Tom Curry had 48 runs, 98 meters made, and he had 57 tackles. So he only had 4 less tackles than what Pieter-Steph made. 5 defenders beaten, 3 clean breaks. But also, Curry's tackle success was 89%. So like I said, Pieter-Steph du Toit flings his body around the field, so it looks like he's making a lot of tackles, but he's also missing a lot more because of that. So now this, Tom Curry is also voted for, he was also nominee for World Player of the Year. Why? So the only reason, the only conclusion I can get to, the fact that they picked Pieter-Steph du Toit is because he played in the winning team.
Firstly, let's address the Tom Curry's rubbish, so let's not compare. Sorry, I can't do that.
But I'm taking the people that got nominated for World Player of the Year and why he got picked over anyone there. The other player was Ardie Savea. Ardie Savea played mostly open side flank a lot in the World Cup last year, and I think he played 8 in a few more games. And then we also had Cheslin Kolbe. I would rather pick Cheslin Kolbe to win Player of the Year than Pieter-Steph du Toit. If you wanted to pick a South African, why not rather pick him? So I think he made
personally
a bigger
no,
impact.
but okay. No, I like Pieter-Steph du Toit more than I like Cheslin, that's for sure.
I think Cheslin Kolbe probably made a bigger impact on the South African game in the end because he did so many individually brilliant things, especially stepping Owen Farrell. I think you can just give him World Player of the Year for doing that and making Owen Farrell look like more of an idiot. So I don't understand it. And please, can someone out there explain this to me? Because if I have to pick a World 15 team now, Pieter-Steph du Toit would not be in my team. I don't understand the big hoo-ha around him. So please, someone explain it to me.
Wow, no Pieter-Steph du Toit, huh? World Player of the Year, not in your team. That's an interesting one. So to be honest, I probably want to finish off on this. I have nothing against Pieter-Steph du Toit. I just think he's a lock. I guess I can't look past how slow he is, but maybe, yeah. I think you've made lots of good points, Woude. I'd love to know what people think. I would love to know what people think.
I'm clearly missing something, and I would love for someone to tell me what that something is, because I can't see it.
So out of the Springbok players, because we have to be honest, the Springboks are a functional team. They're not like they're not a team that sets a base for individuals to go and shine. Is like our loose trio that operates together. Faf flourishes because he operates with our 9 14 or with our 11, 14, 15 with the chasing and up and unders, right? So like we're not like the Crusaders who let people go wild because they got such a good system.
Yeah.
Who would you have gone with? Who's the other best player in the Bok team, just out of interest? Because I do think Peter Steptoe was the best player at the World Cup of you know, he was the best of a mediocre lot, in my opinion, as an individual. But the whole team worked so beautifully together under Rassie. Who would you have chosen as the winner? Besides the guys who got nominated.
No, so I wouldn't have. I don't think we would have been able to pick anyone else in his position because it fit with Rassie's style of play. It fit in the Springbok way of playing.
I meant for World Player of the Year.
I
meant for World Player of the Year. Sorry. So you've obviously said Cheslin. Who else is one of our best players, would you say?
At the World Cup, a standout player in the Springbok team. There wasn't really anyone. If you have to say,
it's a tough one, hey?
Yeah, I guess Dwayne had a pretty good World Cup. I think he had a pretty good World Cup, and I would probably rather have picked him maybe over Peter Steptoe. I think he was pretty solid and he did his job. So I think he was man of the match in the final game. That was probably one of the best games that he's ever played. So I think Beast was very good in the scrummaging, and for someone of his age, I think he did. I don't think we realize the impact that Beast had on the scrums and on the packs and the opponents at the front. So he was also definitely one of the standout players for me, and the impact that he had from that point of view. So I don't think we have any standout players in the Springbok team. But if I have to choose, I would probably choose one of them. But it's just, I don't know. I've got nothing, and really have nothing against him. I just don't see it. Like I said, I wouldn't pick him in my World 15.
Wow. Okay, well, there you have it. Huh? Listen, you've made some great points. It would be interesting to hear what people think, because these are probably conversations people aren't comfortable having in public, because it's so easy to say he's the World Player of the Year, and that's kind of, okay, well, that's the end of the conversation. But you've presented a lot of interesting kind of looks to it. I think on the part of, was he part of a system? Juan Smith. So Juan Smith, huh?
Yeah. Juan Smith for me.
Oh, there you have it. Beautiful. Absolutely brilliant. Pass. Okay, well, Woude, before I get to the questions, what's the story tomorrow, huh? We got the skip pass tomorrow. We got James Dalton back. What are you guys going to be chatting about?
Yeah, so James is back tomorrow. I have to tell you a really embarrassing story, but I don't know if I should wait until he's on to really tell the story, if I should just tell it again. But no, I'm going to tell it. So yesterday we met to discuss our what we're going to talk about tomorrow. So we are going to do a little bit of a wrap up with Super Rugby Aotearoa, because it is possible that they're actually not going to play this upcoming weekend because COVID is back in New Zealand. And Auckland has gone back to level 3, which means the Blues Crusaders game might not happen. So we're just going to look at our top 5 points and top 5 things that stood out for us in this whole competition. And hopefully he will be talking a little bit from his rugby playing point of view. So look out for that. If you have anything else around the competition that you want us to address, let us know. But we'll be talking our top five points.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
Yeah. But this embarrassing story. So I asked him about the blindside flank and who the best blindside flank was and which one he would pick. Because I really struggled to understand this whole situation. And we were talking about the 95 World Cup, and I was like, oh yeah, but Ruben Krier was the 7. He's like, no, he wasn't. I was like, the guy played in your team. He was the 7. And then he's like, no, I'm sure it wasn't. He was like, then who was our 6? And I was like, I have no idea. Wait. And I was like, I have absolutely no idea. We completely forgot who the 6 was in the 1995 World Cup final. And eventually I'm sitting and like Googling this, who was the team in 95? And I literally just threw my phone down. I was like, oh my word, we forgot about the captain in that team. And I was like, this is more embarrassing for you, James, than it is for me. Because he was your captain.
Breaking news, James Dalton and Woude Muller hate Nelson Mandela. That's basically the story here. I think that's the takeaway, is what Nelson Mandela did for South Africa means nothing to James Dalton and Woude Muller. Wow.
Oh, wait. The table that was sitting next to us, or the people standing next to us where we were, they literally just burst out laughing. They're like, it's James Dalton sitting at this table, and he can remember who the 6 was in the 1995 World Cup.
Unbelievable. A rugby expert and a guy who is a World Cup winner who... Wow. So you guys hate Nelson Mandela, huh?
No,
wow.
I love Nelson Mandela. He's like my absolute favorite icon of all time.
So how are you forgetting...
just don't like Francois Pienaar.
The number 6. All I have to think about is probably the most ridiculous moment in sports history.
I know.
Unbelievable. Can't believe Woude and that's going to turn heads. You and James Dalton hate Nelson Mandela. Who knew? Who knew? Anyway, all right. Well, that's the kind of fun we'll have tomorrow, huh? James Dalton. Never a dull moment around that guy.
No.
That is hilarious. Woude, I'm looking forward to that, man. That's going to be good fun. David, won't you start giving us some questions there, huh? What you got for us? Senzo Sitebe says, Cook is better than Langer. I'm going to have to stop you there. Let's not get caught up in what Cook has done numbers-wise. What has he done to be better than Langer? Langer's gone to India, been part of an extremely successful team, and won in India. So I've always said it, World Cup cricket is not the biggest honor. Winning a 5-test series in India is. Justin Langer's done that and everything else in cricket. Alistair Cook, you're the captain. I'm going to need you to do something like, I don't know, perform in a World Cup, perform in an Ashes in your time. How many Ashes whippings is Langer going to have to put on, shellackings, on Cook? By the way, Cook, you're in that team. You can do something about it. If he's better than Langer, set better bases for those who were to come. Peterson, Bell, Cook. I mean, who else was with him? Strauss was at the other end. So no. Purely because as well is I need the toughness. Langer gave me that toughness. Away, home, no problem. Alistair Cook at home, no problems. Oh, it's great. It's swinging. He could leave. He knew where his off stump was. Oh no, I'm in India. Not going to work. And then he's meant to be the captain as well. He took too many whippings in the Ashes. I'm sorry. And the great thing about sport, especially in what you're saying there, is I get to pit them against each other. So Langer here, Cook here, who's going to take their team to the promised land? And don't give me that playing in I said it last night, don't give me that playing in a better team is easier. It's the opposite. Playing in a better teams are much harder. The expectations are much higher. Alistair Cook, individual awards, huh? First to, I think every 1,000 up to 7 is where people's argument is. But I'm afraid Justin Langer and Matthew Hayden, the greatest opening combo of all time. So I'm going to have to go against you on that one, Senzo. Somebody who knows his spot. And it's not tight either, because I think I'd rather have Graham Smith than I would Alistair Cook even. And there's probably a couple of others who I'd take. Dave, what is next? Mark Francis says, no, I'm sorry. How can you ignore the West Indies greats like Viv Richards, Malcolm Holding, Walsh, Ambrose, Lara, Garner, Croft. My God, you look at this team. This is like this is a world team when you look at it like that. You are smoking some strong stuff, having Smith as a leader. So, by the way, just to give some context to both these questions, yesterday I picked my all-time greatest 11, test 11. So I didn't pick Smith, unless he meant Stephen Smith. And I didn't pick Smith as my leader. I've got Steve Waugh as my leader. So I guess you were in a fit of rage there, Mark, while you were typing that. But I just had Steve Smith because he has a 62 test average with 7,700 runs. But let's take it from the top. Viv Richards, he would have been at number 4. He's not coming in for Jacques Callis. Holding, he's not coming in for Steyn, McGrath, or Lilly for me. Walsh, you'd have to replace Steyn or McGrath. No go. Ambrose. So the Ambrose, by the way, Steyn was so close. By the way, Ambrose averaged 20.99. It was so close. It's just the only thing about Dale Steyn is he was part of the best era in cricket over the last five years. Mr. Ambrose couldn't quite get him there. And Ambrose had a team, by the way. I know the West Indian structures weren't there, but he still had Chanderpaul, right? He still had Hooper. He still had Brian Lara, Prime Chanderpaul. So he still had one or two guys, so he could have lifted that team. And then Lara's just unlucky because, I'm sorry, he's not better than Ponting. There's nobody in their right mind who thinks he's better than Ponting. No, I mean, come on. And I love Brian Lara, but he's not better than Ponting. Stop it. Joel Garner, okay. I mean, we're really getting into rarefied air, but he's not better than Hadley, Steyn, or McGrath. It's just, I'm biased to a combination of winning and numbers. South Africa dominated Test cricket for 4 years. I have to look at that. Australia, and why I had to have McGrath, why I had to have Warne, they've dominated cricket for 25 years. Shane Warne was integral. McGrath was integral in that. So Garner, no go. And I mean, that last name is, he's such a great commentator, by the way. Croft, just an unbelievable player. Actually, this looks like a world team. It's like, Mark, you should maybe pick this as a world team. Just those guys. You go and look at some of their performances and their style and dash. But fair enough. But I can't overlook the current Australian team, especially when some of them have been involved for 15 years of utter dominance. Ricky Ponting was involved for 15 years where it wasn't close. Home, away, we don't care. We'll win 3 World Cups in a row, no problem. We'll win the most test matches in a row, no problem. I'm a part of that. I'm integral. Out of this world. And it's so hard to be in winning teams. So, Mark Francis, love that comment. Dave, what you got next? By the way, when I say Dave, there is actually somebody. It's not a bot. There's somebody who does this. He's a super producer, David Leroux, who's all the way in Cape Town, which is on the outskirts, somewhere on the outskirts of Cape Town. Dave, do you guys have Wi-Fi there, wherever you live? He lives on the outskirts, like on the West Coast somewhere. I don't know where Dave lives, but unbelievable at his job. Listen, you ever need anybody, give me a call. I'll put you in touch with Dave. He can do everything. Senzo Stebe says, based on what you've seen in Super Rugby, Aotearoa, who would select for the All Blacks from 1 to 15? Bodie, not sure if you want to take that now or maybe select that team in the future as a wrap-up.
No, so maybe next week, Thursday, we should actually select the team and give you the All Blacks, because on Monday, though, we are going to have a little bit of I am going to pick my favorite Super Rugby Aotearoa team, which will be different to the All Blacks team that we're going to pick, because I think obviously the players who are superstars in Super Rugby Aotearoa might not necessarily be the players who will make a test team. So then we can compare that also. But I think players that will definitely be in that team would be Joe Moody, Cody Taylor, Sam Whitelock, Sam Cane obviously will have to be in that All Black side, Aaron Smith and Richie Mwanga. So if I can just give you those 5 names of people who would definitely be in that team. The other ones, I will keep it as a surprise. But then also, cool. Senzo, also make up your team so we can have a discussion about it.
Yeah, super. Send that sport@cliffcentral.com. Would love to see what people are saying. And Vody will let us know when we're selecting that team. And That's going to be a good one because they are loaded. That Jacinda Ardeen's people.
That's for sure.
David, do you think Messi maximized his talent? Ozil is up there with Robinho. After he won the World Cup, he faded. Let me answer the second one first. Listen, Ozil was unbelievable at Real Madrid. Remember that Mourinho team that stopped Pep Guardiola and forced Guardiola to take a sabbatical? Ozil was central to that, not Ronaldo. Ozil was seen as the best player in that Real Madrid team. No, Mesut Ozil had, you look at his Schalke days, had 10 years of tremendous success and was one of the main players in Germany winning the World Cup and beating a Robinho team, by the way, at the Maracanã 7-1. So I would definitely, I would not include Ozil. Now, maybe as an Arsenal fan, you might say that because he came, collected £350,000 for 5 years and played, I'm going to be kind, he played one good season for, So maybe in the Arsenal context, I would say, okay, I'll leave that to Arsenal fans to decide. But I would say Mesut Ozil had, his 20s were littered with success and, prodigious ability. You don't go to Real Madrid and be the best player for 3 years. That just doesn't happen. Robinho, one season, was out of there, flash in the pan. I wouldn't compare the two, but Jesse, happy to hear what your thoughts are as an Arsenal fan. Do I think Messi maximized his talent? Now, what are you asking there? He's the best player to ever live, and it's not close. It's not close. Maradona couldn't even tie this guy's shoelaces. The thing is, it's not even about the talent anymore. It's when you can maintain it. The killer's expectation in life. He had two things on his shoulders when he started at 19 under Icon. Maradona's shadow. And then, my God, Ronaldinho is in the team you have to try and break into. So that's who you have to replace. Expectation's always the killer. Did Leo Messi maximize? He's won the World Player of the Year, what is it, 6 times? More than anybody else. So, Jesse, that's not a question. Dave, don't ever let Jesse ask that question again. Did Leo Messi maximize his talent? Greatest of all time. The Ozil point, though, Jesse, great point. I'd love to hear from you as an Arsenal fan. Do you feel like he was... he came for big money. What was it? £30 million and then £350,000 on the new deal per week. I'd love to hear, how bad was Ozil for Arsenal? David's a paddler, by the way. He sits in the water and he paddles. And I don't mean in his bath. He literally sits in a boat on the river. The Rig says, Woude, who is your favorite Springbok?
I think since he started playing rugby and the first time that I've seen him, I've always loved Jean de Villiers.
Jean de Villiers. Okay. Jean de Villiers.
Yeah.
Huh?
Jean,
what if he gave you a random phone call or was in your DMs? Is he somebody you'd make an exception for?
I can't comment on that. He's a married man.
Oh, fair enough. Good professionalism. Good professionalism.
But I've told you about the incidents I've had with him before. So he was definitely he's always been one of my favorite players. But obviously from a talent point of view, I think if I have to say who the best one was, I would say Woude Muller was right up there for me. And like Baletelli said, Skalkberger, John Smith. So, but yeah, my favorites and one I've always kind of had, I guess, say I have a crush on would be Jean de Villiers.
Jean de Villiers. Hey, it's a pretty good one. He was a fantastic rugby player. My goodness.
Yeah.
The Rig says, Mbulelo, who exactly is your favorite player? I thought you said Woude Muller was the best ever. Now it's Juan. Then you said Skalk is your favorite. So I'll answer that from the back. Skalkberger is my favorite player. Woude Muller is the greatest number 9, I said, of all time. No, so not just in Springbok colors, in any Springbok, any scrum half ever. And then Juan Smith is the best player to ever play in a Bok jersey. So I've answered that there, the Rig. And I've never changed. I always have it in that order.
So would you ever give a new player a chance to be better than them? Or would you have to put them on a much higher pedestal to... Who's your favorite player ever? Not Springboks, favorite player ever.
favorite, what, rugby player?
Yeah, ever.
Oh, Christian Cullen. It's not close.
Okay.
Yeah. Christian Cullen, and by a country mile. Like, I've never seen anything like him from fullback, or in rugby, actually. Yeah.
Okay. So
Christian
did you want to
Cullen.
play like
Hurricane's
him?
great. No, because I was a fly half and more of an inside center in school. So what I tried to play like was a little bit more like Johnny Wilkinson. I really liked the physical contact, really like a physical 10. So I looked up to Johnny Wilkinson when I was younger.
You're like this skinny. How did you want to do the physical contact?
Yeah, I don't know. I was a bit of a madman when I was younger. So I was more, that was my idol. But it never worked out. Like you said, hey, in school, I used to take the creatine, huh? I was on the creos. What was I? 85 kilograms back then, 13 kilograms heavier than I am now. So different time.
I don't know if you saw that picture of Jesse Krill on the socials. I'll try and find it and we can put it up tomorrow. But I'm not going to say that he naturally got through this lockdown period.
Hey, listen, Jesse's always been a gym rat, though. So I'll never suspect. There are some who all of a sudden have a transformation. Jesse's been a gym rat. I mean, I remember him as a youngster. The criticism was always of him as he needs to lose muscle. He's always been Men's Health body cover. So he's never been. What's he like? 1% body fat?
Yeah, it's always very low. But it's not just necessarily the muscle; it's also the jawline and that like, forehead forming. I'll try to find the picture, and we can give you a.
All right, I'm not touching that one. You're saying he's on a Bryson DeChambeau. What you're saying? Bryson DeChambeau. He came 40 days. Bryson DeChambeau came back, and I think it was 9 kilograms heavier.
Yeah.
So, in any other sport but golf, who knows? All right, Jesse Kriel, huh? Senzo Sutebe is saying the best All Black team you have ever witnessed. Woude, I'll start there and I'll let you round that one up. I think the best on paper has to be Todd Blackadder's one, right? It's almost impossible for them not to win it. What's going on there? Because listen to you had Wilson, Lomu, Cullen on this as your back three. Alama Jeremiah and Peter Alatini as your 12-13. And at a stage, you could even say to the back end, you had Aaron Major, who's one of the greatest. But let's go back to the one I'm talking about. Then you're talking about Mertens at fly half, Marshall at scrum half. Oh, my God. I don't want to go into the forwards because it was ridiculous with Chris Jack, Norm Maxwell. Ruben Thorne, the great Ruben Thorne, another Crusaders giant. Jerry Collins. So I think that's the best team I've ever seen. Just the rugby they played, but that's not in terms of are they the best team. That's just my favorite team in best rugby I've ever witnessed.
I think probably also the 2011 All Blacks team was a really good team with Richie McCaw, with Dan Carter, that kind of whole group. And I think the fact that they won that back-to-back World Cup, I think definitely 2015 All Blacks team, was probably one of the best for me, and especially one that I've really watched and got more interested in. So I definitely think that's a team for me, which I would always want to watch. And I think they've played great tests and great rugby from there on. And it's obviously that team that also won, 18 in a row, maybe? Yeah. So that's and a more recent team for me.
Yeah, Graham Henry, great team.
Yeah. So that from 2011, because the team didn't change that much between 2011 and 2015. But I think the 2015 team was probably the best.
There you have it. That was with Carter back. Yeah, he had to come back because he got injured in 2011. Everybody goes, Stephen Donald won that World Cup, not him. And he was like, not on my watch.
No.
Yeah.
So, and then two of the greatest players, Richie McCaw and Dan Carter in that team, and winning World Cup was obviously amazing. Yeah.
No doubting that. Dave. Okay, let's see. Okay, so last night we saw what happened. If you didn't watch, I still haven't figured out how to plug in a microphone after working as being. I've been paid for the last 8 years, I think, to talk for a living. I still can't plug in a microphone. So skipped mic plug-in lessons at work. Appropriate punishment is for him to confess his lifelong love for United. Oh my God. So by the way, I haven't seen this, just so people mustn't think this was something I'd prepared. Oh my goodness. That's one of the most revolting things I've ever heard. I have to be honest, when I was younger, I supported Man United because everybody else supported Man United. But when I keep, it's been 23 years now. So however old I was when that was, I saw Gianfranco Zola live and he scored a hat-trick against Manchester United, and the rest is history. I was like, wow, that guy is a cartoon character. He's so good, making grown men look like children. Senzo says the punishment. So I guess these are the suggestions for punishment. Senzo says he can't say the words Man United for a week. Lulama Kabaga says the appropriate punishment is for him to confess his lifelong love for United. Unbelievable stuff. And lastly, Senzo says, a great punishment is not giving relationship advice for a week. All right. I think that, sorry, that might have been Jesse, the Hoff. Jesse Randhoff says, a great punishment is not giving relationship advice for a week. Hey, the last one you did right, because I'm a hypocrite. I am your perennial bachelor, right? I could not imagine anything worse. And hey, if you're in a relationship, delighted for you. Go ahead, live your best life. But I could not imagine anything worse than being in a relationship. Yet I give the advice. So I should wear a hat that says hypocrite, really, is what I should do. So fair enough there. Hey, I like that. By the way, I didn't know that was coming.
But if he does do that, what is the punishment for him saying that? So if he breaks this punishment now, what are we going to do between David and myself? I think we need to figure something out.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's take some suggestions. So if I do break, we can maybe do one per week. We'll start off next week with maybe Man United or no relationship advice. And then if I do break that, I'm happy for suggestions. I didn't even know that was coming. So type your suggestions into the live chat, and we'll see if I can make those happen. Looking forward to that.
Can I also just add, I almost fell off my bike again on Saturday.
I'm not surprised by that.
And this time I had a witness. My mother was here this weekend, and she witnessed me almost falling off my stationary bike for the second time.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. There's literally, I don't think there's a safer environment in the world than a bike that's stationary. It's.
But
did
remember,
you
it's yeah.
You used to represent South Africa, and one of the disciplines was being on a bicycle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Oh no! But it's not very stable, because you it's not like one of those big stationary bikes. It's just a little back thing that you put your bike on. So I tried to cleat out, and I didn't, but I already took my weight the one way. So I kind of like toppled over, and thank goodness I was right next to my table, because I would have ended on the floor.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. The bike's stationary. You don't. It's absolutely. Please don't ride your bicycle in public, Freddie. I don't want to be that person, but oh my God. You used to represent South Africa, a whole country. She was better than like thousands of other human beings that lived in South Africa. And actually, if you represent your country, you're one of the best in the world at what you do. So by default, Woude used to be one of the best people on a bicycle in the world. So she was in the top 1%, because you don't get into the echelon she competed in for years, on a bicycle. And now the bike's stationary, and she can't even stay on it. It's weird.
I was in the Olympic training group.
That's what I'm saying. So the Olympics is the 1% of the 1%. So you were already in the 1%, and then you were good enough to go to the Olympics. But dare the bike move. Oh, dare the bike be still, huh? So Woude, it's just the panic stations when you see a bicycle up against a wall. It's just, who knows what could happen.
And I've got two.
Oh my God. In the same apartment?
Yeah, you can see both of them behind me, can't you?
Oh, that's a calamity. Move them apart, because you will find a way to fall off both of them at the same time. You will find a way. Unbelievable. I know. And I saw a comment just now saying, are you just putting out too many watts on that bike of yours?
It's not even when I'm moving. That's the problem. It's when I'm standing still and wanting to get off the bike.
Do you know this emoji here on cell phones? This emoji. I'm doing this emoji. Unbelievable. All
Look,
right.
I'm a better swimmer and runner than I am a cyclist. So
I don't know. I don't know. I need to move on from this. I'm getting shook. I'm getting shooketh. Dave, what we got next? Census Tebe says, Robinho, Pato, Adriano, these talented Brazilian guys just fade away badly. But in Adriano's defense, he did fall into deep depression. Anything in life where there's depression involved, everything goes off the table for me. So for me, I will never. And I come from a home where my mother is a psychiatrist. So I've always been told to take that very, very seriously. I think the world is starting to see that mental health is not a joke. It is no joke. So Adriano, I've always excused him because he had real problems. Like, that's real problems. And then he got into addiction. I have addiction in my family. Once you have addiction, you're gone. So, okay, he had his demons. Alexandra Pato, that's a good one. That's a really, really good one to mention. I would love to know what people think, because I've always said Michael Owen is the Pato of English football. Is the hamstrings went because they were both burners early, and then they were played early. You remember when he came to AC Milan, they were in a place where they just had to play this kid, and he was 18, 19, and he played what? They loaded those legs, and he wasn't ready. He didn't have his man body. Happened to the great Ronaldo as well. By the way, you remember both his knees shot. From what I understand, all the science says his quads were way too powerful for what his knees could handle. That's the great Ronaldo, not Ronaldo now, who is also great. But I'm talking about Brazilian Ronaldo, who came at 19. First season, Barcelona, best player there. The great Bobby Robson said, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And Bobby Robson coached them all. Ronaldo, 19, best player in the world, incredible. So this happens to these really fast twitch, quick guys, because Michael Owen never played well after he left Liverpool. 17, 18, 19, wunderkind. Went to Real Madrid. He flourished at Madrid because he came off of the bench as rotation. So the Pato one's an interesting one, because I think when injury robs you, it's a tough one. But we also have to say, and I always said, availability is the greatest ability. So Pato less shocking than Robinho, because Robinho had no problems. They loved him in Brazil. Santos loved him, and Santos is the club in Brazil. They coddled him. They coddled the Robinho. He had no problem. He came to the Galacticos. They embraced him. They moved Zinedine Zidane for him. Moved Zinedine Zidane out of position and played him as a number 10 rather than out left so he could drift in and do his magic. And still Robinho couldn't bring himself to be disciplined enough. I'm sorry. I can't. You know, there's reasons and there's excuses in life. I would say Pato has reasons. Adriano has reasons. Robinho is just full of excuses. What a mug. What an absolute mug. And I'm attached because I'm a Real Madrid fan. Robinho, what a waste. So, hey, great points. Love to know what people think, and love Pato, by the way. And loved Adriano at Inter as an Inter fan. The Rig says, what about Premiership rugby in the UK? Let's talk about that, says the Rig. What about it?
So
is what I'd like to know.
And they're starting again on Friday. So rugby's not just back in New Zealand and Australia. So they're starting again on Friday. So I think on Friday, the Sales Sharks is playing the Harlequins. And also this week, and I think obviously Saracens got relegated, but they're also playing, because those are the teams that we have a lot of South African players in. So I think it would be quite interesting to see what Sales Sharks can do, because remember, Faf de Klerk plays there, Loede Jager is just there, Manu Tuilagi just moved there, Tom Curry is also playing there. So I guess that is quite a strong team. And then obviously our De Preer brothers and De Preer Senior moved to Sales Sharks. So I think that would be quite an interesting game. For me, what I would like to see is how it is going to be different and to what we've seen in New Zealand now. I've always said, and in my opinion, I think Northern Hemisphere rugby is much slower. They're much slower at the breakdowns than Southern Hemisphere rugby. But what we've also seen in Super Rugby Aotearoa was just so quick at the breakdowns. Everything just happened so quickly. And it's almost like New Zealand found even another gear to pick up even more pace somehow, because they've already always played kind of fast kind of rugby. Whereas the Northern Hemisphere I find actually quite boring and slow. But what would be interesting to see is how they will adapt to the new regulations around the breakdown and how that will affect the breakdown. Are there going to be more penalties because they are so slow? Are they going to give players more time to roll away? Are they going to give the ball carrier more time to place the ball? How are the referees going to interpret this whole situation? Because also I think the Northern Hemisphere referees are also not great.
Well, a World Cup winner, Skulk Brits, said he learned how to play proper rugby in the north because of what Woude's saying. He said it's slower there, it's more structured, and the coaching is better. He said the scrummaging is obviously a bigger part of the game. So we'll see that. My opinion is Northern Hemisphere rugby is the Farmers League. But having said that, we've got more interest. What we'll do is we'll get Charlie Hodgson, friend of the show, really cool guy. The Newcastle's greatest ever player, of course. And hey, the greatest points, might be the greatest fly half to ever play, in the Premiership era. He's the highest point scorer, and he's got every record, by the way. Every record at the Newcastle Falcons. Charlie Hodgson. So we'll get Charlie Hodgson, friend of the show. He'll give us running commentary, because I want to be honest with you, I will not be watching that. It is unbelievably boring.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give you my team of the week watching. Oh, my cats are fighting. I'm not going to give you my team of the week from the Northern Hemisphere rugby. I won't be watching all of those games. It's too much rugby, too boring.
It's too boring.
Maybe I'll watch the Sales Sharks because there's some South Africans. Maybe I'll watch the Saracens, which is not going to be great because they're obviously relegated, like I said. So I don't know. Count me out.
Northern Hemisphere rugby, like kissing your sister. It just doesn't count. No good. But yeah, hey, very. And I think you've made a great point, Woude, is let's look out now for the South Africans, see how they're doing. And of course, Rassie's opened up the borders. So looking forward to seeing who's developing how and what teams. But hey,
so
we'll get Charlie Hodgson on.
Yeah, what I would rather do is I will give you some feedback on the South African players in these teams. So I won't necessarily give you feedback on all of them, but if one of our South Africans did stand out, I will give you some feedback on that.
Coolio.
Yes.
Woude, I have a mate in France who competes in clean bodybuilding. It's an official category. And as a biokineticist, what do you think of legal doping?
We had Ross Tucker on a while ago, remember? And someone also asked him this question, why don't you just open up doping and just let everyone dope? But it's not, I don't think it's that easy and that simple. And everyone kind of reacts differently to it also. So you don't know what your side effects are going to be from doping. So legal doping, I don't know. It's just going to say everyone's allowed to use whatever product. And but each person can also, like I said, react differently to it. So I'm not necessarily open to the whole doping situation. I don't think it's good for sport. I don't think it's good for health, especially long term. Again, we keep talking about rugby players and how rugby affects them. But if you dope and you use all of these things and the impact it has on your body long term, I guess some people would say it's worth it to win that gold medal. But yeah, I'm not a fan. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, legal doping, huh? Ross Tucker had some really interesting things to say about it. And so Woude comes obviously from a biological science background. I come from a hard science background. Just to be very, very clear is, and I think it is something we'll get Ross to explain next time, exactly what people say when they mean doping, because a lot of people get caught up in this word, and I don't think enough people understand it from a scientific point of view. And I'm looking forward to having Ross on again, and we can maybe get into that a little bit more. And I've got questions just from an understanding of the chemistry side of, and Woude coming from a biological, she's a biological scientist, and then Ross, a bioscientist as well. So we could have a really interesting conversation. And I think there's far more from a hard sciences point of view. I think we have such a narrow conversation, and then I'm not a biological scientist, so I don't really understand that world, and I'd be looking forward to hearing that. So yeah, great question there, the Rick. Dave, what you got next? Jesse Randolph says, who do you think is going to win the Champions League? My money is on Bayern Munchen. How sad Arsenal let Gnabry go. But listen, with Arsenal, how long's the list? How long's the list? Let's start, since you seem to be a self-masochist, let's really start at the beginning. I mean, Fabregas, Van Persie, even Henry had to leave to go and win a Champions League. That must absolutely kick you in the nutsack as an Arsenal fan. Yeah, that is sad. And then Gnabry, you let go of him too early. I mean, that is outrageous. See, this is where it's different as well. People were saying Mo Salah, Kevin De Bruyne, and Chelsea should regret it. Chelsea have gone on to win titles without them. Arsenal have only gone on to regress after letting these names go. So, Jesse, you've made an incredibly good point. Who do I think is going to win the Champions League? Well, I am a big Bayern Munich fan. Somebody after Bayern Munich embarrassed Chelsea sent me a message. Luckily, I've got my Thomas Muller shirt, which is not a new one, by the way. It's the one from 2014. So I sent them that immediately. I said, I'm just dusting this off for the playoffs. They are looking unstoppable, aren't they? So let me tell you how you know when a football team is great. Not good, great. In football, what you're trying to do, and this is an unbelievably boring lesson for people who don't care, but in football, what you want to do is make the field as small as possible. By that, I mean, what you want is your last defender and your center forward. You want them to be as close as possible, especially when you don't have the ball, but ideally all the time, right? When you make the field as close as possible, what it does is it puts incredible demands on your technical ability. So your pass and move, and then there's another category called your tactical side, but your technical ability, because you need to operate inside of a matchbox, right? And in football, we say you zip it about. So Bayern Munich have got, in football, we would kind of coach this, is they've got the concertina effect going beautifully. Because what you do is, in possession in football, you open up, right? So that's the one side. But when you don't have it, is you contract, everybody tight and everybody close together. So most teams are good at one of them, which is contracting from the outside. So you'll see like a Wolves. Wolves are really good. You saw them fall apart last night against Sevilla because they couldn't do the really difficult part, which is the compress from top to bottom. They can do it from the side, is you come in. So you look at Bayern Munich, they are seamless in expanding and contracting. And against Chelsea, you saw it. And then you start to I mean, the type of pressure they're putting on is you're putting pressure with 2 or 3 people when you get it completely right, because you've got the center back on top of the other team's center mids, and then it's not fair. So Bayern Munich are my favorites. I think Leo Messi's in trouble. He's got some heavy lifting to do. And by the way, my sleeper is tonight. This Atalanta team's for real, people. If you haven't seen them, they are young, they're exciting, and they've still got that Italian sort of rigid nature at the back. Remember, the Italians love their defenders. So, yeah, is Bayern Munich my team? Yes. Yes, they are. They're the best team. They're certainly the best team. And then I'd have to say, if you're looking for a sleeper and you're a gambler, put your money on Atalanta. They're real. They're real. Watch them tonight. I think they'll beat PSG, and I think they'll beat PSG quite easily, in fact. Dave, what you got next? Sensor says, do you think the way black players are treated in Italy also played a part in Balotelli's decline? Interesting. Nobody's ever asked me that in public. Listen, the racism thing's it's not a secret in Europe, okay? So it's a tough one. I mean, really, I saw a side of it that I had never experienced because I lived in Russia for 6 months, and that was a whole different scene. I mean, I don't really want to get into the gory details, and I played in Russia for Russia's top club. So, you know, I've got a very different relationship with racism. It's affected my life. I think it's so difficult because, you know, you look at Baletelli, who was adopted from Ghanaian parents to Italian parents. That must be a wild ride because Europe's got its problems. It really does have its problems. And Balotelli does seem like he's got a massive chip on his shoulder. That may have something to do with it. And I think the Italians have never apologized about how they feel about Italy, Spain, they have a huge racism problem there, especially in their league, and it hasn't stopped. So one might say, the thing about Balotelli is he's not a black guy like me, is I could very easily fit into society. I'm 5'11", so I can walk around and, you wouldn't know. Is that guy, what's he doing? Is he a student at a school? Balotelli is as an athlete, and then he's got that dress sense, and he's got the blonde mohawks and the beautiful women. He's got style, and he's outspoken. So I think there's a double layer operating with Balotelli. Not only is he black, but he's also outward. I can't imagine it helped, is my answer that I'd give you there. Because with something like racism, you always want to be sure. Because once you paint somebody with a brush of racism, that never washes off. But if I had to get, I'm not going to sit on the fence. I don't like sitting on the fence. I would say definitely. But I would say it didn't start in football. It probably started when he was younger. Because once again, he's not like me. If you've got light skin, it's a bit easier. You might be mixed race. You could be European race. Balotelli is clear. That guy's from a different continent. So I can't imagine it was easy. But still, wow. Like once it was okay, it still went off the rails a bit much. But I guess childhood shapes you. Tough one. But yes, without sitting on the fence, I would say, yes, that is a fair assessment of things. Dave, what we got? The Rig says, MKT, you have to put out a tweet saying how great Andy Murray is if you break punishment. that would be punishment.
Good one.
put it on this. That would be punishment. Putting him as great. That would certainly be punishment. That would certainly be. Are you kidding me? Andy Murray. Get out of town. Okay. Put it on the list. All right. Well, we've had a great show. Let's wrap up with this last question. I like that one, by the way. Andy Murray in public. I'll have to say it's great. All right. We will wrap up with this one. I think it's a good one from Senzo Sitebe. He says, if Messi had won the World Cup in 2014 in Brazil, he would have been 1, 2, and 3 of all time. I love that. I absolutely love, man. That's just how great the man is. It's undisputed. Well, Woude, thank you very much for tonight. We will see you tomorrow. You and James Dalton. Really looking forward to hearing about your wrap-up of Super Rugby Aotearoa. For tonight, though, to all of you at home, thank you, Woude. Thank you for joining myself, of course, Big Shot Media, Dave, who's the voice of God, and he puts the show together. It's nice for everybody to know who puts this all together. Dave LaRue. Go and pester him on social media, by the way, and say how great he is. He doesn't like attention. He just gets the work done. But I want to make one of my tasks in life before I die is I want to make Dave uncomfortably famous, because he really loves it. He's one of the hardest working men in the world, though, and I actually appreciate the living hell out of you, Dave. For today, though, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. It has been a different ball. Yeah.